This is Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage, your place for all things Wisconsin sports. Now, your host, Trage.
How we doing, everybody, and welcome into Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage, as we come back for this July 30th edition of the show here. I hope you guys are enjoying your Wednesday. I hope you guys are enjoying your week so far. It's been a hot week, but they're telling me it's supposed to cool off as the weekend comes along here, so that's going to be awesome, especially for me, who I work outside. So, it's great to hear that the weather's finally been cooling off there. I hope you guys enjoyed your last weekend there. I spent the weekend. We were down in Toma at the fair down there, and that was a good weekend there. Spent it with family, working with the horses down there, and then spent some time with the baby boy and the wife over the weekend there. So it was a good weekend all the way around, a good weekend there. So coming off this blistering hot weekend that we had here, I saw a couple of things that I saw across were, number one, the Stratford Legion team had a huge weekend. They won at the regionals down there, and they beat Fall Creek. So across the weekend there, they scored 40 runs. They outscored opponents 40-1 over the weekend there. They beat Fall Creek 1-0, beat Whitehall 30-0, and beat Osseo 9-0. That is a darn good weekend right there. Holy crap, that is a darn good weekend by the Stratford Tigers. And I watched them over on Zaleski Sports over there. Make sure you're checking them out for all your high school sporting needs there. Zaleski Sports, huge shout out there. But watching over there, this team is darn good, the Stratford Tigers. That was awesome to see there. And then also I saw another one when I was scrolling through social media there. And for my wife, I saw it from both. My wife told me about it there. My brother-in-law, he plays on the team for Chippewa there. Their 17U Legion team was the runner-up down at the state games there. So that was awesome to see their Chippewa Falls got the second place finish at state, their runner-up. So, out of all the teams in the state, that's an awesome accomplishment. So good to see that happen there. Congratulations, Chippewa Falls team there. And then Stratford they move on, and in impressive fashion there that they move on. And then also I saw that I believe Marshfield did drop in their regional. They lost to Wisconsin Rapids. That would have been on Thursday there of the regional. So Marshfield is done, but a great year for Marshfield. It was a great year for Chippewa there, and a great year for Stratford as they move on there. So exciting stuff there across the board. Coming off the weekend, that Marlins series, I want to get into that today here on the show because Brewer fans were ecstatic coming off the weekend there, as some should be. There was some problems there. They're having problems of their own in the Cubs series here with airs and everything like that. Just uncharacteristic things happening to the Brewers, and that's what happened over the weekend there against the Marlins. And a lot of Brewer fans are impatient with that, and they're talking about why they need to make moves and everything like that. So I want to dive into that today here on the show. But Friday, that was exciting. That was an awesome thing to see there, that 25th, celebrating 25 seasons at American Family Field. And they had the home run derby there after the game. It would have been nicer if the Brewers would have won the game. It was a game that winnable. Should have probably had it, but ended up losing that game. The Marlins were hot coming in town. So I want to talk about, like I said, I want to talk about this series later on. But it was exciting to see that. Braun, Gomez, and everybody else that came back, Fielder. I think it was more exciting to see the guys back than... Okay, so for me, it was like the first 30 seconds. It was like guys swinging as hard as they can. And then the rest of it happened, and it was a bunch of old guys trying to swing a bat. It was just, it was awesome to see those guys back. It was awesome to see their swings. Prince Fielder has still got a mighty hack. Ryan Braun still looks like he could play today. Carlos Gomez was hacking. But all those guys, they struggled in this little tournament here. So it was cool to see all those guys back. Keon Broxton was launching them. And Corey Hart, that was awesome. Corey Hart was awesome to watch. He was launching balls, but then, like I said, he just got tired. He just got tired there, gas, and Prince just couldn't get her out. And yeah, maybe you could blame Ed Cedar's pitching. I don't know, but it was still awesome. And it was awesome to be Ed Cedar. Corey Knable was back in there too. Corey Knable was back. I saw him. Ben Sheets was there. That was funny to listen to him say that he couldn't. They asked him why he wasn't hitting, and he's like, I couldn't hit with an aluminum bat 15 years ago. So that was awesome. Yamani Gallardo hitting tanks was cool too. So it was cool to see all those guys back at American Family Field, swinging and just interacting with the crowd. And they were signing for fans before that too. And they, like, every single one of them came up there and they said they just wanted to be back. They love the fans. They love, bringing their families back to Milwaukee. and everything like that, spend it with the fans because the fans are so appreciative of him. And it was a huge crowd. It was absolutely massive for this event and for the game and for the event. And you just wish the Brewers would have picked up a win there before it. But all in all, it was awesome to see. And I hope that they do more things like this in the future. Probably, I don't know if many of these guys are going to be able to handle another home run derby in the near future here. But I mean, it's just little things like that. And even see some of the current players come up and they were watching, and Pat Murphy was up there watching with the guys. I mean, that was cool. After a loss that sucked, it's still cool to see an event like this happen at American Family Field. So that was awesome. Outside of that, I just wanted to dive. So with the Brewers, what was grinding my gears as we start every single week? What was grinding my gears coming off the weekend? And one of the big things I would say that was grinding my gears coming off the weekend had to be fans freaking out about this Danny Jansen. And I hope, like you guys know, I'm recording on a Tuesday. It's pre-recorded. So as I'm talking to you guys on Wednesday, I'm a little bit like, man, if anything happened today, hopefully the Brewers made some trades, right? I'm hoping they made some trades as we get to the deadline here. I'm going to talk about the Brewers and the trade deadline coming up today here on the show. But the Brewers made a move for Danny Jansen. Okay, Danny Jansen not really having a fantastic year. He's hitting 197 against lefties, still getting on base against them. I mean, he's getting on base at about 356 clips. So he's getting on base, and his slugging is at 465 versus southpaws there. Contreras is hitting 223 against southpaws, and Haas is hitting 160. So if you put all those numbers together, it's telling you that Jansen is actually better than Haas against lefties. So you got, I believe, an upgrade offensively in Jansen. Was it a great upgrade? No. Was it like earth-shattering upgrade? No. Was it an upgrade? I believe so. Jansen has some time in the bigs. He's been in the bigs for a bit now. He's a Wisconsin guy, Wisconsin native. The Brewers, I don't understand this with fans now because we've done this multiple times. The Brewers traded Aaron Savali for Andrew Vaughn. We lost our minds. Why are we making this deal? Why is it happening? Why is this all you could get back for a guy like Savali there? This is crazy, right? And Vaughn starts hitting the crap out the ball. Now we're all like, oh, wow. Okay, maybe they saw something. And then, even before that, Yolfrey Rodriguez. We trade him for Quinn Priester. And it was, oh, are you kidding me? How do we trade him away for Quinn Priester? Quinn Priester has had a pretty good year. It's like the Brewers, they consistently make these moves, and they see something. And they're pretty darn good at seeing it. And I know one of the things that they have against Jansen is he was graded as a plus defender in the past. Now his framing's bad and his throwing's bad, right? That's what they're telling me. The framing and throwing's bad. Now it's dwindled in grades over the recent years. The Brewers have a pretty good way of fixing that. They've done it before. Omar Narvaez, before he came to Milwaukee, was a terrible framer. He was good offensively. He's a terrible framer. Yasmani Grandal wasn't great at catcher either. They have a way of fixing those guys and making them darn good. You also have a guy in William Contreras who's darn good catcher too. And could probably, help a guy like Jansen figure it out there. So I understand where the trade offensively doesn't make sense. Defensively doesn't make sense. I get that. I'm not saying it makes sense to me. I was surprised by the move. I think it was a move to try and improve the catcher spot, which I don't hate. It's a solid backup catcher. You hope that Contreras can, like the Brewers have said multiple times, if they put him on the IL, it's most likely a season-ending IL stint for him. So you got to have a backup plan. Right now, Jefferson Cuero, he's injured too. So you have an injury with him. You have an injury technically with Contreras, but he keeps playing through it. And I understand that he's been stinking. I get that. He has absolutely been stinking at the plate. But he's continuing to play. So I don't know what to tell you. He's continuing to play. You bring in a guy like Jansen. You thought he was an upgrade over Haas. My problem is that when we sit here and freak out about this trade, okay, so we freak out about this trade. Every single time it is oh my gosh, I can't believe we got rid of X, Y, and Z for this guy. I can't believe, because this is what I've seen across Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, wherever you want to look. I can't believe that we got rid of Yadier Arminio, the infielder, for Danny Jansen. Straight up, 1-for-1. A guy I believe he's in high A, low A, he's in single A. We got rid of him for a major league catcher. I can't believe that. 1-for-1, the number 24 prospect in the Brewers system. Are you crazy? You made that deal? What? How is that even possible? Are you nuts? That's basically what we're hearing right now. Are you nuts? That's what they're telling me. No, you traded the number 24 you have an infield prospect below guys like Cooper Pratt, Jesus May, Luis Pina, other guys who are, odds are will be ahead of. Yeah, Brock. Well, how many infielders do we want to name off here? How many infielders do we want to name off in the Brewers system there that are going to be ahead of a guy like Yadier Armino? Honestly, when you look at it, I would have loved to see and loved to hear what people's thoughts were, because everybody's got their opinion on this. And they're going to tell me, oh, well, he was gonna be the next up and coming. He was gonna be the next up and coming. Tell me where his path was to the bigs. Because you have Jesus May in front of him, Luis Pina, Cooper Pratt, Luke Adams is down there, a third baseman, first baseman there. You have Eric Benito. You have, Josh, I can't even say that guy's last name. You have Brock Wilken. You have Mike Bovee. You have so many infielders who are rattling up the line there. And you're going to tell me that we're going to lose our minds over Yadier Armino? You didn't know who Yadier Armino was until they made the move. And then you saw the little subtitle that said number 24 ranked prospect in the Brewers system. And then you saw, and you look deeper into somebody telling you that this is how well Danny Jansen's batting this year, and this is what Yadier Armino is doing, and you just went, what? Are you crazy? How can you make a move like this? It was the same when we made the move for Quinn Priester. Yafri Rodriguez got traded away, and everybody blew a gasket. How could you possibly trade him away for Quinn Priester? Well, guess what? He's been pretty darn good. Savali. All you could get back was Andrew Vaughn. Are you serious? Pretty darn good so far. I don't know, but pretty darn good. He might actually make it a problem when Rhys Hoskins and Jake Bauers both decide to come back. He might say, I already got the spot locked down, so thank you guys for trying. I understand where if it was a crazy, stupid trade, and I'm going to admit, I didn't see, when I looked at the Quinn Priester trade, I didn't see what was happening. I didn't see it. I was like, what? And then I saw this move, and I said, what? And the Aaron Savali, really? That's the best move you could get out of him? Now, we would make that move 1,000 times again, knowing what was going to happen. And we should probably give Savali a key to the city for requesting that trade, because what we've seen so far out of Andrew Vaughn has been unreal. But what I'm saying is that, we, as fans, I get the, oh crap moments where you're like, why did you make these moves? But at the end of the day, okay, you want the Brewers to make a move. Now, is it the flashy move? I really hope they're still going to make that move. I don't know who it's going to be. Everybody said Suarez, and everybody was like this guy and this guy. And I've heard Ryan O'Hearn from the Orioles. Like I said, we're going to get more into the trade stuff later. I've heard, a bunch of different talk about who could be and what I think, they should do. But what the heck is the point? If you get a decent backup catcher who you trust and you think that you can help and everything like that, and the Brewers must see something here with Danny Jansen. If you like what you see, and you made this move, and you didn't have to give up a boatload to get him, you didn't have to touch the top 20 prospects. That's the thing. If they would have moved on from, let's just say, a top 10 prospect for Danny Jansen, okay, now blow a lid. Blow a lid. Top 20 prospect, maybe even? Blow a lid. I understand. Baseball America had him ranked as the number 10 prospect in the Brewers system at this point in the season. He was having a good year. He's having a hot season. It doesn't mean that he's still one of the best prospects in the Brewers system. It just means he was having a darn good year to this point. He's been playing well. The problem was that he's got a swing and miss rate. His swing and miss rate is huge, and he had his own problems. And the Brewers had a talk with him, and he's still having those problems. So the Brewers just said, all right, bye. If the Brewers made this move for the reason of, and I think it is, to get better in the backup role. They wanted to have a piece behind Contreras as a just in case we need you. We're going to need you on off days, whatever, but a just in case move. I think that's what this was. It's an option now. It's not, if this was the only move, if this was their big move in quotations that they're going to make, then wow, the Brewers really didn't feel like they had it in the bag. They didn't feel like they could do it. Or they didn't want to ruin chemistry. I don't know, right? That's the thing we always get is the chemistry. It's a move that I understand why fans could be upset about it. But at the same time, if your reason for being upset is, we moved on from the number 24 prospect in the system for a major league catcher, and this guy that the number 24 prospect was down in high A or single, I can't remember off the top of my head, they're high or single A that he was. I don't know what to say. He was in high A. There you go. I just read it there. He was in high A this season. Having a pretty good year, 297. It wasn't like he's bad. But he's got his own problems. And the Brewers, they cut ties. They moved on. They saw that they had a lot of talent ahead of them. And they said, well, we can afford moving on from them. And in a organization that we've seen like this so far, the way that they've been able to help guys and build guys up and pull guys through the minor league system and continually put good teams on the field year after year for the past how many years now? I think we should probably, in my opinion, I'm going to trust it. I'm going to trust it. And once Danny Jansen fails me, then I will say crap. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that one. I want to get to a little bit more with the MLB today. I want to talk trade deadline. I also want to talk about the salary cap later on in the show. I want to talk about salary cap because Bryce Harper, Rob Manfred, getting into it a little bit. So I want to talk about that today here on the show. I want to talk Packers, training camp, everything like that. We got Christian stopping by next. We're going to talk Badgers. We got more Brewer talk to get to later on here in the show. I want to talk about the Brewers as we get into this trade deadline here and talk about the Marlins series, the Cubs series, everything in between. So I want to talk about all of that today. We have a boatload to get into. So we're just getting going here. 1 hour of Wisconsin Sports on the Go Trades is just getting started. We'll be right back here after this quick commercial break. Into Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage, coming back on this Wednesday. And hey, this next segment with Christian here is brought to you by Foreman's Hardware. They offer you everything from home essentials to farm supplies, house to farm, grills to drills. Foreman's Hardware has got you covered. Visit today in Loyal, Colby, or Medford, Wisconsin. Tell them I sent you. Tell them Trade sent you. Get 5% off. What's better? You need landscaping stuff. You need maybe some tools. I don't know, Milwaukee tools. They got all kinds of stuff down there. Weed whackers, everything in between. Grilling supplies. They got Casa and Spice down there. I cannot tell you. Get down there Fridays. The Friday Frenzy's happening. Check them out on Facebook. Check them out in store there. Tell them I sent you 5% off. Foreman's Hardware of Loyal, Colby, and Medford there. So, Christian, having you on tonight here. How we doing? It's Wednesday. We're excited. We're back. Badger football is getting closer. We're getting closer. How we doing on this Wednesday?
Good. How you doing?
Oh, if I was any better, the Brewers would have not lost the series to the Marlins. That would have made me a lot better. But we got to come off they have to suck at some point, right? They could not. They could. The Brewers are that anomaly where they're like, we have to suck against bad pitchers, and then when we face aces of staffs, we're gonna light them up. That's just how it goes. So we just got to accept it. We face the aces, we're fine. We face guys like Jansen Junk, who we got rid of because he wasn't good enough. He's gonna light us up. So yeah, that's just the way.
So I was actually at that game, and that guy looked really, really good against us.
They all do. It's like, who is this guy? Maybe if he was in our farm system, we'd be darn good. Oh, wait, he was. He was with us. Crap, I forgot about that. Well, we want to get into some Badgers tonight here. Last week, we talked a little Badger hoops, and there was exciting stuff happening. There's still some exciting stuff with Badger hoops, but we want to get into the forefront of the Badger football schedule here because we're getting close. We're getting close to camp starting up. It's going to have the secretive practices that they're going to have out there. Big Ten Media Days just happened. All kinds of excitement leading up to this one here. So I had a question. So let's just start it off right off the top because we've talked to Scary Alvarez on here before about kind of his feelings about the Badgers coming up this year. What do you think? Okay, you got this daunting schedule. Could the Badgers be a sneaky team this year? Could they be a sneaky team with this schedule? They got a decent roster. Could they find a way to sneak some wins? Do you think the Badgers could be a sneaky team heading into the 2025 season where we're not expecting them to do what they can do?
I'd like to say yes. Unfortunately, we haven't seen that a whole lot of that in the last 2 years, right? But just knowing what they can be, and I mean, no, maybe I'm just a fickle guy, but I mean, now you're going to see more of his guys coming up, right? The guys he initially recruited out of high school, maybe not so much of the leftovers from Christ, So I kind of think, obviously the schedule's the big talking point, how difficult it is and everything. I think I wrote something about this a few weeks ago, and I think there's a good chance that, they're going to be the under-the-radar team. I think they could play spoiler this year and knock a few teams out that, could potentially be in the college football playoff, hunt. Teams like Indiana, Illinois, teams that, we're not supposed to beat this year. Because I think their over-under is 5.5 wins this year heading into it, right?
Yeah.
So, you look at, if you want to go over their schedule a little bit, you look at it. Miami, Ohio needs to be a win. Middle Tennessee, they were one of the worst teams in FBS last year. Needs to be a win. Maryland, then Alabama. I have zero hopes we're going to win that game. So I'm not even going to count that one, and that's going to be a rough one. Maybe if we're at home, I might be like, well, but now that we got to go down to Tuscaloosa. But then, oh yeah. But then you got Maryland. I think should be the most winnable conference game they have on their schedule at home. Maryland wasn't that great last year. So, and they have a terrible offensive line. And we'll talk about that later when we're talking about Billy Edwards a little bit. But, yeah, I think there's 3 wins right there. At least what I think. I know a lot of people really like the going into Michigan and getting a win. I don't see it. But I think Iowa, we can win that game. Not crazy about Ohio State or Oregon, especially at Oregon. That one will be a doozy, I think. And Washington last year went winless on the road in Big Ten play. So, I think that's a game they should be able to win too. And then, I don't know your thoughts on Indiana. I think I always stop myself short of calling them frauds.
Right.
Maybe I'm just a little salty that they were so bad for so long. Like they're not a football program, and then all of a sudden they get Kurt Signetti. He goes off and starts talking smart and everything, and I'm like, okay, this guy's full of himself, all that stuff, and then they make the college football playoff, which just irked me a little bit. I don't know.
Yep.
But I think we can beat them. I think Illinois will be a really good game. And then obviously I'll always pick Wisconsin over the Gophers. So I think they can hit over that 5.5 game wins. But I don't know. I think they could do some damage to some other teams this year that have some hopes of making the college football playoff.
You don't think Joel Klatt's right and they're only going to have 3 wins realistically? I saw that video. I'm like, are you nuts? 3 wins? They have 3 wins in the first 4 games. Where are you looking? I just saw that. I'm like, just stop. Just shut up. Just shut up. You don't even – the thing with it is the national media, and this is where the Badgers are at now, and it sucks. They've fallen out of the national media. They talk about them because they have to, and that's it. Otherwise, they don't care. They don't care about the Badgers. They've fallen into, and it sucks to say, I feel like, into this – I don't know. Are they in that I don't want to say irrelevant, but they're almost irrelevant. They're almost to that point right now where nobody, and I think it's going to change. I hope it changes, right? I hope it changes, but I feel like they've hit this point of mediocrity, and I really think, because we're going to talk about him in a minute here, but I really think it's because Luke Fickell came in and he brought the wrong guy in at offensive coordinator. He brought the wrong guy with him, and it's dragging him through the mud now. And, you look at I saw a lot of, interviews with different coaches in the offseason here, and it didn't say who they were or anything like that, but they're like, Longo wasn't the guy. Luke Fickell's not a bad coach. He just brought in the wrong. Every one of the Big Ten coaches sees it. They all said the same thing. Longo's not a bad coach. I've said it before. He's not a bad coach. He's just the wrong guy for Wisconsin. Do you believe that the Badgers have kind of fallen into that irrelevancy because of the wrong hire, bringing in the wrong guy, trying at the wrong time, and now this is kind of the repercussions, and now it's about, okay, now how do we get it back?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to say, too. I think I'm fully on board with the Luke Fickell train. I think he's a really, really good coach. I think he's a great recruiter. But I think, like you said, I read that, too, that anonymous coach, they all said Fickell's the guy, but he tried to make that splashy hire with Phil Longo, and I think it backfired completely on him and set him back how many years, Hopefully not too many. I think some of the other assistant coaches are kind of helping, Blas, heck of a recruiter. He's bringing in really good offensive line recruits. He's kind of bringing them back to, where they should be. Reed's been doing really good at receiver as the receiver coach. Getting Jaden Petit, that 4-star receiver that just committed and stuff. He's been named by a lot of guys for why they really have a close connection with the coaching staff, because he's so personable and all that stuff. So I think that's going to kind of save him. But I honestly agree with you. The Phil Longo hiring didn't make sense at the time. I don't know if they were just trying to just be super drastically different from what they've been, the big splashy hire, things like that. But I think that's definitely killed them the last 2 years.
I really think it was trying to be shiny. Phil Longo equals shiny. You get more of those NFL recruits, right? The explosive wide receivers, the good quarterbacks with the big arms. That's what a Phil Longo is going to bring. And I really do think, because I know we were just talking about Singetti before and what happened in Indiana, he didn't come in and try to do a full, he used the guys that were there, but he utilized them to their talents. And I always thought that when Luke Fickell came in and he brought Phil Longo in, he didn't utilize, and I know a lot of people hate on Paul Chryst recruits and all that stuff, but they were trying to run an offense that they weren't recruited for, that they weren't built to run. And you put them into that situation, they weren't going to thrive in it. They weren't going to do well in it. If you would have brought in, and then I want to get your thoughts on Jeff Grimes, but if you would have brought in a Jeff Grimes, stuck with Wisconsin offense, stuck with what you were supposed to, I think you win the winnable games. Do you play Alabama last year and win? Probably not. Do you beat Ohio State or Oregon last year? Oregon last year. No, probably not. But you play a darn good game. And in a game like that, in a game like that with the Jeff Grimes offense, not a Phil Longo trying to make Braden Locke throw the football, even Penn State. I was at that Penn State game, and Braden Locke trying to throw a football is I don't even know if he'd make it in the WIAC at this point. So. It sucks. It really did suck because I thought there were some winnable games. I just thought the offense coordinator, the lack of playmakers, the trying to run an offense that didn't fit, and then you got guys that aren't being utilized the right way. I thought that was a problem. So I want to hear, what are your thoughts on Jeff Grimes? All in all, right? I just went all over the barn there. Yeah. All in all, Jeff Grimes coming in. What are your thoughts on him? What do you think that changed from what we saw with Phil Longo to Jeff Grimes? How much do you think this offense is now going to take that next step from what we knew to what we didn't like to what we kind of know again with Jeff Grimes? Yeah,
I think, I don't know, I'm maybe again, it's just me hoping, right? But you assume they're going to take a step anyway. The personnel they have now will fit better than what they did when they were trying to run the air raid anyway, right? So, even if in year one of this offense where, they're still trying to learn the offense, it's new to a lot of guys. For some of them, it's their third offense they're learning since they've been here, right? I think even if they do average this year, it'll be a step up from what they were with Longo. It'll be just more pro style offense, right? What a lot of guys probably want to do, especially our offensive line. I just don't think we had the offensive line to run the air raid the last 2 years anyway. But I think you're going to get back to a lot more running. I'm not 100% sold that they're going to be what Wisconsin football has been, where it's ground and pound. We're going to, just run you into the ground, and then by the fourth quarter, you guys are dead, and we're going to run all over you. But I think there's obviously going to be a lot more running than there was with Longo in the air raid.
A lot more scheming and a lot less complication. That's the big thing. How many times did I watch a shotgun 3rd and 1 where we give it to Tyree Walker, and the 4th and 1s where we give it to Tyree Walker and just say, "Oh, here we go, it's in shotgun. What's going to happen here?" I didn't understand. It's too. We see it with Matt LaFleur and the Packers all the time, but it's too pro style sometimes with this bad team. It was the simple things. It was those little things where it's what am I watching right now? And then what was that stupid play? I think back to the USC game. There was a 4th and 1, and they pulled the two, I think it was the two tight ends off the left side, pulled them to the right, and then the tackle came from the left side. Tyree Walker just got stonewalled in the backfield there and it was a disaster. And I think Barry Alvarez then sent in a text to Brad Nessler or whoever was doing the game there. But it was just, it was just that kind of stuff is overcomplicating such a simple game that I think I agree with you. I love what Jeff Grimes is going to do because he's going to utilize the talent that he has. And he knows he has that talent in the room there to do both, run and throw the football. And with a guy like Billy Edwards, I want to hear what you got to say about Billy Edwards. Bringing him in, a guy who's he's been in the Big Ten. He's been around the barn there with Maryland a little bit. Just has never had, and it's Maryland. So, they're not a football school. They don't have the talent. They don't have the offensive line. They don't have the weaponry. They always seem to play in games. They're always, they give teams dogfights. They just never could win a game. And that's just, the way that it was. What do you think a guy with the experience of Billy Edwards brings into this room right now? And is it going to be that? Is he going to be the guy that, finally makes that difference? Is he going to be that difference maker that we've been waiting for with the Badgers that I guess we haven't been able to see due to, knock on wood, injury? I pray that we don't have another starting quarterback go down with injury for a third straight year. But, because Braden Locke is not there to back him up anymore. So.
I'll say either way, we won't have to worry about Locke coming back in.
Right. What are your thoughts on Billy Edwards? Give me your thoughts on Billy coming in here.
I think he's extremely underrated. I think a lot of people like to look at how he did at Maryland and be like, oh, Wisconsin just got a super average guy, right? But like I said, they had one of the worst offensive lines in college football last year. Like if you follow all the PFF stuff or you subscribe to all that, I think it's just a data point, right? But as like a unit, they were like the second to last they're like the second worst pass offensive team graded out on PFF last year, if I remember right. Like terrible. And he still threw for 15 touchdowns and only 9 picks, but he got sacked a ton. So you don't think that'll happen with Wisconsin's offensive line this year. So I think you can look at how he did last year. He was average, subpar, whatever, didn't put up eye-popping numbers. He still threw for 2,800 yards, which Wisconsin hasn't done since Jack Cohn in 2017, I think, 2019, something like that. Like Wisconsin hasn't had a quarterback that has been able to do that. Now a lot of it, like you said, has been injuries. 2020 with Graham Mertz was COVID. They only played 7 games. So That'll kind of factor into it too. But I think in this scheme with this offensive line, I think he's going to really do. Assuming he stays healthy, I think he's going to do really well this year. At least you would hope so, right? But I think, and everything you hear about him too is his leadership and all that fun stuff. He was, one of the representatives to go to Big Ten Media Days, and he just got there, right? So that just kind of goes to show what kind of guy he is, or how highly respected he is already within the program.
And it brings that excitement in there, right? It brings that excitement that you have a guy like that where you can already see that he's stepping into that leadership role. Him and Hallman and Renfro, all, like you said, representing the Badgers going down to the Big Ten Media Days. I think that's awesome. And so going off of what Billy Edwards is going to bring to this team, I had a question because I haven't been able to understand it. I didn't understand it last year. And I thought maybe you would understand it. Maybe you'd have a more like a why. Why did the Badgers, so last season, I was just looking at the stats there, Cade Yakimelli was, in the little role that they gave him was fantastic. 274 yards, averaged 8 yards per carry, his long was 46, he had 2 touchdowns. Why did the Badgers why did they go so far away from Cade Yakimelli that they weren't even using him at all? And then, what does it show about a guy who, even after that, even after being underutilized, being talented, being able to do it, he still comes back. He has the option to leave, but he still comes back. What does that tell you about a guy like that, and how excited are you to see how they utilize him this season, because knowing how good we think he can be?
Yeah, I honestly have no idea. I went to a couple games, covered a couple of them last year, and one of the ones was South Dakota. And he had a really big game. he was healthy. He was the only guy who could really do anything against, an FCS school, which is a little frustrating to watch. But I don't know what happened. I don't know if maybe the coaching staff really wanted to see what Darian Dupree and Dylan Jones had, so he kind of just got relegated down just because he wasn't one of the super young, high-ranked players coming in. That's going to be the future. And then I don't know, I've had a chance to kind of sit and talk like media post game stuff. I had a chance to talk to him or be around him a couple times, and he's the thing about him is he seems like a super humble guy. He's super he's a program guy, right? So maybe that's what it is. Maybe he just really wants to stick it out with Wisconsin because he loves Wisconsin, or maybe it's I could transfer and get a bunch of playing time, but it would be at a MAC school or something like that, So maybe he just really wanted to stick it out and see, maybe I can beat them out. Maybe I can. These guys get hurt, because looking at it, all you hear about is, Darian Dupree was the big guy last year, the big freshman. He was the exciting guy, but now everything this spring and heading into fall is Dylan Jones looks like he's going to have a huge year. So no one really talks about Cade Yakimelli because everyone's always talking about the other two, right? So I think he's awesome depth. Maybe he'll kind of fits into that, if we really are running kind of like that true pro style offense, maybe he's that third down back kind of guy that's more of a receiving threat. Maybe that's kind of his role, but
they got to find a role for him. They have to find a role for a guy like this. They had to find a role for him last year. You look at How many games did we watch Tyree Walker just get stonewalled in the backfield 4 times, and then we watched Dupree go in there, and Dupree had some explosive plays, right? But he's not. Cade Yakamele, he ran different. It just felt like when he was out there, he had that explosiveness on the edge where he just broke it, and he's a very smart back. And I thought Dupree was young yet, where he was still learning. I don't know why you try to force a role, and I know Dupree was going to get there, but why force a role on a guy when you have a proven guy who's doing it in Cade Yakamele? Give him a run, see what he does. If he starts to fall apart, then, okay, now throw Dupree in there. Now do that kind of stuff. Why waste Dupree away when you could throw a guy like Yakamele? And it just didn't, I don't know, it just didn't sit right with me. And then you look at the stats, and you're like, if you're a stat guy, you're looking at the stats, you're like, this guy's averaging 8 yards per carry. Something he's doing is right. I don't know what it is, but something he's doing is right. Why not utilize him? I don't know. So, I mean, it was just kind of silly there. But one last question for all the people out there who are going to hate on Luke Fickell going into this season, because there's a lot of Luke Fickell. I can't argue. There's some people who have good ideas of why they don't like Luke Fickell, and there's a lot of people who have good reasons why they like Luke Fickell. There's both sides of the boat. And I can respect both sides of the boat, because what he has not done yet is proven to us why he is, supposed to be the next guy. So this schedule is, I don't know why they schedule this. Whoever made this schedule sucks, because Indiana's schedule compared to this is just stop it. So looking at this schedule, it's tough. We're talking 5.5 wins is the over-under.
Yep.
What does a Luke Fickell have to do this season to say to me, to say to everybody, okay, like, we're good. Does he have to get that one signature win? Does he have to, win we got to win the winnable games, but does he have to get that signature win for you? What does Luke Fickell have to do to calm down the fans this year and to say, okay, I'm the guy. This was just a terrible schedule, and I'm still working on my, getting built up here. Jeff Grimes, year 1. What does he have to do this year for you?
Well, for me, I feel like for me, it's different. I'm not like, I try to look at it a little more objectively. Like, I know this is Chris McIntosh's guy, right? Like, he's going to give him some leash. Like, he went out on a limb to hire this guy.
Has to, yeah. It's his job, too, on the line.
Exactly. So, but, the average fan is going to look at him like it's a what have you done for me lately business, right? Yep. Like, he had all this hype coming in, and he hasn't lived up to it. And I absolutely understand why people would be frustrated with that, right? But I think if you look at this, like what's going to help calm people down, I think might be a number of things. Like, number one, let's get back to a bowl game. Like, even if you go 7-5, you're back in a bowl game. People will say, okay, we had a brutal schedule and we still made a bowl game. Things might be looking up, right? Like, it's there. We just now, well, what can we do with an easier schedule, right? Not an Alabama in non-conference, right? I guess got to take one last dig at Indiana. We could just cancel, Notre Dame next year? Just cancel that and just, find some FCS school just to make sure we get a win there. Unbelievable.
It's the SEC
It was Virginia. They literally canceled Virginia. What are they doing? It's not even like they're that hard. Anyways.
It's the SEC schedule. That's what he said. He schedules like an SEC school. I was let's
appreciate it.
SEC.
I appreciated that little dig by him. That was actually pretty good. But so I think winning, getting to a bowl game, I think would go a long way. And then, maybe that signature win. He's Fickell's 0-6 against ranked teams with Wisconsin so far?
Yep.
Something like that? We're going to have a chance to beat a ranked team this year. We're going to be full of it. Whether it's Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State, Oregon, Indiana or Illinois will probably be ranked at some point if we do see them that late. But then also I think no matter, he has to beat Minnesota this year, right?
Yep.
Like, if he loses to Minnesota 2 years in a row.
Oh, man. You got to beat Minnesota. And after getting embarrassed last year at Iowa, I think you got to beat Iowa. I think you got to win. I think
that's the game that just got away from him. But yeah, that was.
Yep. Those were the games that made you worry. Is he losing the locker room? Because it just looked like they weren't there. They looked like they didn't have the fight. It looked like Iowa just came in and curb stomped them. It looked like PJ Fleck was the greatest coach that's ever walked planet Earth. Those games were the ones that hurt the most. And Nebraska, games that you thought going into it, hey, they might be able to stick with this game. They might be able to win this game. And then they just got dog walked. And it's like, okay, are we really this much worse than Iowa? Are we really this much worse than, a Nebraska or a Minnesota? That's what I think separated a lot of fans, because they saw what the start of the year looked like, what they kind of transpired to, and then what they kind of got on a roll. And everybody was like, okay, hey, maybe the Badgers got something cooking here. And then it was, oh boy. And then it got worse and worse and worse, and then no bowl game. And it was like, okay, this is not good. So I would agree. I would agree with you. I'm in that same camp where if he goes, he's got to win those games for me, the winnable games, and then he's got to pick one, get a signature win for me, get an Iowa, get a Illinois, get an Indiana, go get me a Washington, win one of those games. We feel a lot better.
Yep,
we feel absolutely better. If you drop all those games, okay, now we're sitting here like, how do we defend you now? How do we defend you after this finish to a season?
Yeah,
So
like
if
Klatt is right, Fickle might be in trouble.
Yeah, if Joel Klatt's finally right on a prediction, he might be screwed. He might just have to throw in the towel and go back to Cincinnati. So thank you as always, Christian, for jumping on. Where can the people find you? Where can they find you out there?
As always, you can find me on Twitter at Christian Borman or at the Badgerbacker, then just badgerbacker.com. Just swing by whenever. Subscribe if you can. Just casual Badger content.
That's what you need. You need casual Badger content. You need the stuff that you need to know, and he gives you the need to know. That's what I always tell you. The need to know, not the Giannis is leaving in 13 years. The need to know right now, he gives it to you there. So thank you as always, Christian. We'll be back here on the backside here. We're going to talk Brewers on the backside of the ad break. We'll be right back here on Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. Welcome back into Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage, as we come back on this Wednesday. I hope you guys are enjoying your Wednesday night here. And we just had Christian on. If you guys missed any of that, make sure you're listening back on the podcast coming up. It'll be on there tomorrow. There, just search Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. Search us across all social media. I'll share the podcast out there too. You can find the links to it everywhere. And make sure you follow us, like, subscribe, everything like that. Let us know everything you're feeling. And if you have any questions, comments, anything like that tonight here, make sure you're texting in 715-990-4914. That is 715-990-4914. I'd love to hear what you guys are thinking about anything we've talked about. Badgers, getting into the Brewers now, talking salary cap later, Packers, anything like that. I'd love to hear what you guys, your thoughts and everything on anything that's happening Wisconsin sports or national-wise in sports. So this next segment here is brought to you by Casa M Spice, the great people down there at Casa M Spice, the low sodium blend there of spices. I tell you guys every single week when you guys hear me on here, when you hear me across the podcast, I tell you guys, even on social media, I tell you guys this stuff is fantastic. You got to try it for yourself. And I mean that. You got to try it. The Texas-based blend there, you don't get anything back. You hear low sodium, you're like, I don't know about this one. I'm telling you what, it is mouth-watering, breathtaking. It's great. It is fantastic. You want to impress somebody, whether you're tailgating, whether you just have a backyard barbecue, whatever, get yourself down to Ace Hardware. Get yourself over to a Foreman's down there, an Ace Foreman's. Foreman's is Ace now. Get yourself over to there. Or even look online. Grab them custom spices, the different blends, everything like that. Grab them up. Do whatever. Steaks, eggs, pork, ribs, whatever you're doing. Make sure you grab some custom spice to put on it. You will not be disappointed. I promise you that. Check them out there. And if you get down to Foreman's, tell them I sent you, get 5% off. That's all you need. Grab some custom spice. Great people at Casa M Spice there. So I want to talk a little bit of Brewers here. We're getting close to the top of the hour. We're going to talk more Brewers today here on the show, talk about trade deadline, everything like that. But I wanted to look at, so over the years, there's been some teams where they weren't really expected to be World Series contenders, to be in the World Series, whatever you want to call it, over the years now. And I mean, it's been, we had the Nationals. I believe the Nationals were in 2019. They were in there. We saw the Tampa Bay Rays make it in 2020. Didn't expect that one, really. Arizona Diamondbacks made it in there in 2023. They didn't win the World Series, but they made it to the World Series, right? Just some teams where they weren't really expected to make it to where they did, and they ended up doing it. Chicago Cubs, right? 2016, Chicago Cubs won the World Series. Like, didn't expect the Cubs to ever win the World Series again. There they are. I know. Shout out to Cubs. But what makes me so this Brewers team, we've been talking for weeks, right? Is this Brewer team they're one big bat away? Are they one big bat away from being a World Series contender? And I really do think the Brewers are a World Series contender. I think currently constructed with the pitching staff that they have and their ability to find ways to win baseball games. McGill's been great at the back end of that bullpen there. Uribe's been fantastic. Dio Hall and Ashby have been good, solid. So we're constantly reminded of how the hitting is, right? It's So if they go and grab a bat and they get that big bat that we've been waiting for, could that be the difference maker that makes them that World Series contender? Could this year's Brewers team be that team? You look through the statistics, right? The statistics tell you this Brewers team is not that team. You look at home runs, they're 24th in home runs. They aren't a big power hitting team. RBIs, they're 9th in RBIs. Walks, currently they're sitting 12th in walks in the league right now. Strikeouts, they're towards the bottom. I mean, they don't strike out a lot. They don't strike out a lot. They're sitting 8th, looking backwards, right? And good. They're good in the strikeout department. They're stolen bases. They're up near the top in 3rd. Average, they're actually sitting in 11th. On base percentage, they're up pretty high. They're in 7th. Slugging percentage, they're way down at 22. So the thing with the Brewers is the way that they're winning baseball games is not by slugging it. I mean, they find ways. They hit some bombs. Like, the other night there against the Cubs, they had a few. Sal had one, and then Yelich had one. So they have the ability, but it's not like they have a slugger on their team. Even a guy like Andrew Vaughn's a home run hitter, but he doesn't hit a lot. Rhys Hoskins, same kind of gist, right? He just hasn't been out there. He hasn't been consistent. He went through a hot stretch, then he got hurt. So is this Brewers team, could this be a Brewers team that this is their year to surprise people, to find their way into the big game? Currently constructed, I think it'd be hard. I do. It's hard to make it there anyways, right? Even if you added a guy like Suarez or anything like that. My worry is, I guess, when I look at the way this team's currently constructed, is we saw the weekend of the Marlins, and I want to talk about that series a little bit more. We saw that weekend where it was the pitching staff kind of struggled mightily with what the Marlins were doing, but the bats cooled off, and they couldn't. They don't have that guy who can flip the scoreboard just like that. Right? And sometimes in the postseason, you need that guy who's going to be able to step up in a big moment with that kind of big swing. Do I think you need it? I don't know if you need it. If you can find ways to just hit the ball consistently, get on base, move guys over, bunt guys over, whatever it is, the way the Brewers like to play, that's fine. Question is, are guys getting on base? That's the big thing. And I think, honestly, the way that the weekend went, everybody's so, we need to have Suarez because this weekend here we have guys like Ortiz and Durbin, and they're not hitting well and whatever. Ortiz and Durbin if we're relying on Ortiz and Durbin to be the utmost carrying force of this lineup, I think we have a whole different problem we're talking about. Don't blame Ortiz and Durbin for what this is. You want to look at some blame off the weekend? Yelich didn't have a great weekend. Contreras struggled over the weekend. There wasn't really a big bat that had a good weekend for the Brewers. That's where you would look at it and say, okay, there was my problem coming off the weekend. Ortiz, he got hot. And he was, hitting the ball better for a short little stretch there. I did not expect it to really carry on forever. But he started to hit the ball. And then Durbin, Durbin. These two guys on the left side of the infield, and that's where I'm going to go with this, is that do I think that you need upgrades? Yeah, I would find some upgrades. I would honestly. I think the upgrade has to be, it's not Durbin. I don't. Durbin is going to give you what he's going to give you. He's going to be a solid bat. He's not going to be great. Ortiz, he is way too hot and cold, and he's more cold than hot. He got hot there for a stretch, and now when you watch him, he's getting under everything again. And it's like, I don't even know if he knows what he's swinging at or what he's looking for. So do I think, and this is going to lead to what we're going to talk about later on in the show, but do I think the Brewers need an upgrade? Yeah, I think they need an upgrade. I think the problem, and like I said last week, one of the biggest problems the Brewers have is Bryce Terang. That he cannot move the shortstop. I think it's one of the biggest problems. That they're so worried about him playing consistently at shortstop because of that shoulder. Because they're worried about that throwing shoulder. That is one of the biggest problems that the Brewers face. Because if not, you could easily see an infield where Durbin plays second base or third, whatever. And then you add a guy, maybe that's Suarez. He plays third. And then you have Durbin play second, and then you have a shortstop in Terang. Or you add a second baseman, you keep Durbin at third, you put Terang at short. You could mix and match whatever your combo was. But the worry of Terang and the worry of his ability to be that shortstop, I understand everybody's, well, why would you want to move him off of second base if he's a gold glove, platinum glove second baseman? Why would you want to do that? I agree with that, but I think he can be just as good at shortstop. I think right now where you need him is actually in the shortstop position. From what I think, because Joey Ortiz is not cutting it. You can hide holes in a lineup, right? We did it with Orlando Arcia for how many years? And then, you had guys like Manny Pena. You had catchers who just weren't the greatest hitters in the world. But when you have other guys struggling, those guys stick out like sore thumbs. And that's what we saw again. That's what I said we saw early on in the season was Joey Ortiz and those guys stuck out like sore thumbs because Yelich wasn't hitting and Contreras wasn't hitting and Hoskins wasn't hitting. Then Hoskins was hitting, so took some pressure off. Then Yelich started hitting. So now we stopped paying attention to all these guys. They still weren't hitting. We just stopped paying attention to them as much. And now it's like they stick out like a sore thumb again. But now you're at the trade deadline. Now it's like, okay, what do you do to improve right now? Right here, right now. I think you go make a move. Go grab somebody. Grab a big bat. Whatever you got to do. Corner infield. I saw they were talking about Steven Kwan. That one confused me. That was really confusing when these outfielder talks that the Brewers get into. It's like, you have a lot of outfielders right now. What are we talking? Can we just get a corner infield? And then everybody's worried about a platoon role. And it's like, we played platoon since Fielder left. Why can't we play platoon? I don't know. There's a whole bunch I want to get into with the Brewers yet today. So we're going to come back. We're going to come back here. We're going to wrap up the hour. And then we're going to wrap it up. We're going to talk. We got some Packers to get to yet today. We got some Brewers we want to talk about. So we're going to get to a little bit of everything here in the second hour of the show. So make sure you're coming back. We're going to wrap up the hour, and then we're going to get to all that in hour number 2. So we'll be right back here to wrap up hour number 1 on the backside of this ad break here. Welcome back in as we wrap up hour number 1 here on Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I hope you guys are enjoying your Wednesday. I hope you guys are enjoying the show so far. And if you make sure you guys are subscribing, following across all social media platforms. Find us Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. Make sure you're checking us out across social media. And then if you want to text in the show tonight, let me know what you're thinking, comments, anything like that. Make sure you're doing it. 715-990-4914. That is 715-990-4914. So we're going to come back. We got lots to get into yet tonight here in hour number 2. We're going to come back after this quick commercial break. We're going to talk Packers. We're going to talk Brewers yet tonight here. We got all kinds of stuff to get to. Make sure you're coming back. Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. Hour number 2 will be starting up right after this quick commercial break. We'll be right back here. Welcome back into Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage. We're coming back on this Wednesday, and I just want to let you know that I got this. And I don't know if it's one of those baseball bat, plastic bats full of bubble gum and stuff like that. And that bubble gum, I tell you what, I put one in. I was like, I just want to taste the flavor, right? So at the break there, I put one in, and I don't know how long the break is. It's like 2 minutes, but the flavor was gone halfway through it. So that just tells you how good those things are. So yeah, that was my break, right? That was my break here as we get to the top of the hour. I hope you guys are enjoying your Wednesday here, Wednesday night. But this next segment, I want to talk some Packers here. Training camp starting up. We got some tidbits coming out of training camp there that I want to talk about. And this next segment here is brought to you by a new sponsor of the show, and that is Badger Tree Care. The tree removal, tree trimming, pruning, full cleanup, small lot clearing, storm cleanup there. They got everything you want, Trevor Barth, down there at Badger Tree Care. Call or text the Badger Tree Care at 715-937-3276. That is 715-937-3276. Check them out across Facebook. That's where I saw them, and I saw some of the work that they did around, and they are fantastic. They do everything that you need around the yard right now. They are fantastic, and especially after storm damage, everything like that. Maybe you have a lot of other things you got to worry about. You got work. You got all kinds of other stuff. You don't have time to clean up the tree, right? A down tree in the backyard or something like that. Make sure you're calling them Badger Tree Care. They'll come in there. They'll do great work and get that thing cleaned up and make it look brand new. That's all you want. Especially, it's hard to find a good crew that'll come in and just take care of it. You don't have to worry about anything. It's hard to find that. And they are that crew. So make sure you check them out. Badger Tree Care across all social media platforms there. So I want to talk some Packers here. Ulmer, like I said, he's on vacation. Seems like he's been on vacation forever now. I hope he's listening. I just told him forever. It feels like he's been on vacation, but he's going to be back next week there. So there has been a lot of, this was the crazy. So there has to be some crazy, some things that we want to talk about, right? So there was some crazy that has happened at the Packers practice so far. I don't know what transpired with this one here, but apparently, Rasheed Walker, he got into a little bit of a. I heard two things. At first, I heard it was Brent Cox. Then I heard Engelbar. So I don't know who it was, but he got into a scuffle. They don't know if fists were thrown or not. I didn't see far enough for that there, but some stuff happened. Okay, and Rasheed Walker. Matt LaFleur was furious. From what I've heard from, it was Matt Schneidman said it, and Nagler was talking about. There's a lot of different guys who reported on it, but they were talking about this, and they said, honestly, never have seen Matt LaFleur like this. And he made Rasheed Walker take a lap. He said, take a lap, and I think he actually ran to it. And I think the second lap was with the trainers. The first lap, it was. Tucker Kraft ran with them, Sean Ryan, Zach Tom, Jacobs, Morgan, Jenkins, Elton Jenkins. They all ran that lap together. They weren't told to all run the lap. They just did with Rasheed Walker. I love that. First off, just off the top there, I want to talk about this more, but I absolutely love that. Because the guy that was right there with Rasheed Walker when they were starting that run, Josh Jacobs. The guy, you want him to be a leader, right? And he has been slowly building up to being that leader. He showed it once again. He wasn't told he had to go for a run here. He wasn't told. And we know a lot of people don't like to run, right? And I would, it's like, you go for a run, buddy. Like, you screwed up, not us. No. These guys all took off with them. So, in the light of a bad possible situation, love to see that. Love to see that there. So Rasheed Walker, Matt LaFleur is absolutely fired up at him, letting him know all about it. And we, like I said, not really 100% sure if they were throwing hands or if fists were thrown, whatever. But Rasheed Walker, they were pretty fired up. Matt LaFleur was all kinds of irritated with that. And then, to end practice there, after it was all said and done, he laid into everybody when it was done. It wasn't just Rasheed Walker at the end of this thing. It was everybody. It was a combination, right? What you can figure. It was between the sloppiness of that practice, other problems, guys not following the rules, not getting better. Matt LaFleur just felt like it was a terrible practice. It's hot, everything like that. I understand that. For, in pads, just getting into pads, everything. But Matt LaFleur was not having it. And he let them know. And I love that. I love that. Even in such a simple thing, so early on in training camp, he's holding guys accountable. And he's letting them know, hey, we got, because they've had a problem for, last season, the year before that, pre-snap penalties, everything like that. It's those little things, right? The little things of following rules and, being where you got to be and holding yourself accountable, all those little things that I think sometimes we overlook. But when Matt LaFleur gets on these guys and said, you guys have to be accountable for your problems, right? The sloppiness, everything like that. When it happens now, you build what you're going to see in the regular season now. You can't just flip a switch. It has to be almost like a machine, a well-oiled machine. And the machine only works well if all pieces are together. All pieces are working together. I'm going to tell you guys a little side note here. I absolutely hate sometimes that I'm pre-recorded because I'm watching the Brewer game right now. And Andrew Vaughn just hit that grand slam against the Cubbies there. You don't know how hard it is to talk Packers and then to watch that and just not want to just start yelling and screaming and, yelling and whatever. It's so hard sometimes. But anyways, that was awesome to see there. Andrew Vaughn hit that grand slam. But anyways, back to what I was saying with the Packers there. It's so hard to just flip that switch mid-season. And Matt LaFleur, I love how he is now holding these guys accountable right now and expecting the best out of them, especially out of a guy like Rasheed Walker, who's been here now for a short. He's been here. He's been a part of the starting offensive line. He's one of the starting offensive linemen, and he's setting a standard. And if he can't follow the rules, what is a guy like Belton looking at, or a guy like Jordan Morgan, or whoever? What are they looking at? A guy who is currently in the starting role, not following the rules set by the team. You can't have that. Otherwise, you're dysfunctional. And you end up with a lot of hotheads. You end up with guys who are out of control. And, I mean, you can't have that. You just can't. I love Matt LaFleur sticking his nose in there and saying, hey, enough's enough, guys. Like, we got to figure this out. The sloppiness, everything like that, we got to be better. I know it's just a start. I know it's not like we're far into training camp right now, but we got to be better. And I love that. I love that out of Matt LaFleur, holding those guys accountable, and just that's awesome to me. So I liked what I saw there, or what happened there. I don't like the situation, because what happened, right? And is this going to consistently be a problem? Because we have guys, and there's another guy, right? Nate Hobbs. Love what I'm seeing out of Nate Hobbs so far, and the aggressiveness that he plays with. Thank goodness that the Marshawn Lloyd injury was a non-contact injury, because otherwise that was going to be on Nate Hobbs, and people are going to hold it against him. I guarantee it. He's been a part of a couple different hits. I think the one was on, I believe it was Wicks across the middle, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, he's been a part of guys now, are about part of some aggressive plays. And Matt LaFleur has told him basically, hey, dude, like you got to cut this crap. And then we see, Zach Tom took objection to it and kind of got up into Hobbs' face there. And you like that. You like to see that out of your offense. You don't like to see it because it's, your defense. It's your team there. You want them all, on the same page there. But you like that your offensive guy is standing up for his offensive, one of his offensive players. So I like to see that. I love to see that out of Zach Tom stepping up and just, hey, like you got to be careful, whatever he said in there. I don't have a problem with the intensity. I actually love the intensity that Nate Hobbs is bringing. You got to have a guy like that, in your locker room. If this guy plays with a little bit of that tenacity, you have, that second Kirby Joseph over there for the Lions. You have guys like that where they bring that intensity. They bring that, you don't want to play dirty or anything like that, but they kind of, they're the hard hitters. They're the hard-nosed guys. They're going to be in there. They're always going to be that hit stick guy. You need guys like that, like a Nate Hobbs. So I don't hate that he's playing with that intensity. It's just when you're in practice and, rules are rules, everything like that you want to say, I think you don't want to dial it back because you got to practice like a player, right? It's hard to dial it back. I guess it's just what are the rules, everything like that, maybe pulling up, understanding the situation, all those things. Nate Hobbs just playing with that intensity that you love. You just want to see it with – it's such a hard situation. What do you guys think? 715-990-4914. What do you guys think? Nate Hobbs, a couple times now, Matt LaFleur has kind of got into him about, and he pulled him out. He pulled him out there, made him watch. He pulled him off the ones and made him watch a couple of series there before putting him back in. What is your guys' thoughts on that situation there with Nate Hobbs? Do you like the intensity? Do you think it's a problem? What do you guys think on that one? This cornerback room has looked good. I just wanted to get to that here. This cornerback room has looked good. Through the first couple of days here, first 6 days, I think we're at, of training camp there. They haven't been beat a lot. Reed, everybody was so worried about Jaden Reed over the first couple practices there because he was kind of a non-factor. There was nobody talking about him. And everybody's like, oh, do you worry about Reed? Are you worried about Reed? I'm not really worried about him. I think he's going to be fine. I just think the secondary they haven't really let anybody beat him over the top. I think Golden finally had a good – Golden's been fantastic. I think Golden's been fantastic. In training camp so far. I don't know. He hasn't the game hasn't come easy to him yet. Like he's still progressing. It's not like I believe he's hit this number one status already, but I think Matthew Golden, he's going to be darn good. I love what I'm seeing out of so far out of him in practice. But Carrington Valentine's look good. Nate Hobbs has looked good. So has Keyshawn Nix. We've seen these guys. They've looked good. They've looked good so far in training camp. They haven't been beat a lot. They've been playing well. You love to see it. Now it's just a matter of Jamin. Buller's been playing well in the slot position there. I mean, it's been a lot of guys looking good, looking darn good there in that secondary. So does it bring me some more confidence in this cornerback room heading into the season? I don't know. I don't know. It's still early, right? You don't know a lot until pads have been on. So am I less worried about the cornerback room from what I'm hearing from guys? I should be. It's looking a lot better. I'm still going to be nervous because I just don't know what to expect. I've seen that Lucas Van Ness has been looking good. He's had a quiet, good start to training camp. That's good news. But like I said before, now it's about transpiring onto the regular season, not just in training camp, not just in preseason. It's looked good. That's what you love to see. It's looked good so far. Now it's just a matter of what carries over. And you hope so, right? You hope so. I mean, I don't want Lucas Van Ness to suck. I don't. But from what I've seen so far, it's just like I just want to be a realist, right? At the end of the day, I just want to be a realist. And when you look at guys like Carrington Valentine, he had a pretty good day the other day there. He went up against Matthew Golden. He won round one, and then Golden had 2 catches on the last 2. So, I mean, both guys battling, look good against each other. So you love to see that. I think Golden had that big 60-yard touchdown from Jordan Love. He beat Nate Hobbs and Evan Williams to get deep there. So that was huge to see. Outside of that, I mean, you're dealing with the injury concerns in training camp right now. You have Marshawn Lloyd. You're worried about him right now. You have that non-contact injury that they were talking about. Brian Gutekunst kind of reassured on that one. So you're looking at the Marshawn Lloyd injury. You're still talking about Christian Watson being out. So there's not a whole lot of guys on the injury report, which is good. That is great to see there early on. You saw the Packers made a couple interesting roster moves over the weekend there. They added a running back, Israel Abakanda is his name there. They added him off waivers from the 49ers. And then Garnett Hollis Jr. was signed there. He's a cornerback out of Northwestern. And I was listening over to Andy Herman talk about that in the Pack-A-Day podcast, and he was talking about Garnett Hollis, and he's reading the scouting report to me. And I don't know if there's really anything he's reading the scouting report to me that somebody had wrote. I can't remember if it was on Sports Illustrated or where it was that he was reading it off of. But when he was reading it, he got deeper and deeper into it, and I'm like, so what was good about him? I'm blind optimism. I'm hoping he's good. I'm hoping he's solid. But the more and more he read it, I was like, what? Oh, is he okay? Like, is this guy good? Like, is he decent? I have no idea. But the more and more he read it, I was like, man, oh man. So, I mean, yeah, we'll kind of see what transpires there. I think just depth at this point here adds more competition in the room. That's basically where they're at. But same with the running back room. I mean, they already have a loaded up running back room. Now with Marshawn Lloyd being hurt again, I have no idea what that's all going to look like. So we'll wait and see what kind of happens there. Also, Brandon McManus has been perfect so far in training camp. He's been perfect. And I cannot tell you how awesome and great it feels to not have to worry about a kicker. For once to go into the season, and the one position we're not really talking about outside of, man, did you see he's still perfect? Is kicker. Like, you just want to have a solid kicker you don't have to worry about. And that's where we're finally at with Brandon McManus again. It was Mason Crosby, and then it was the mess, and now it's Brandon McManus, and hopefully it stays that way. So I am it's like a sigh of relief when you sit here and you're like, oh, thank goodness for Brandon McManus, right? Thank goodness for Brandon McManus. That's all I got to say. So love to see that there coming out of training camp. That was the real tidbits that I had coming out so far. I mean, there's a whole lot happening. And if you go across Twitter, there you find Matt Schneidman, there you find Aaron Nagler. They got all kinds of stuff. Ryan Woods got a bunch of stuff to talk about there with the Brewers. Or not with the Brewers. Not with the Brewers, the Packers and training camp and everything in between. So make sure you're checking them out there. But, I mean, outside of that, I mean, just Dontavian Wicks has been pretty darn good. so far. Matt LaFleur talked about him a little bit. He said there was definitely moments where you could feel the frustration in 2024. I think he's done a really good job from when we got back here in April to this point of just really being present and focusing on the task at hand. So Wicks has been impressive so far in training camp, and I love to see that because Wicks had that drop problem last season there, and he's coming back with a new kind of focus, new kind of urgency, and you love to see that out of him. So hopefully we see that continue here as we move on. So great stuff there from Matt LaFleur and Dontavian Wicks on that quote. But outside of that, I mean, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on training camp so far for the Packers, 715-990-4914. That is 715-990-4914. I'd love to hear you guys, any thoughts that you have tonight here, Packers, Badgers, Brewers, anything like that. Make sure you are texting, commenting them in there. Hit me up on social media, wherever you find it. Like, subscribe, follow Wisconsin Sports on the Go Trade. I'd love to hear you. I'd love to see you guys like, subscribe, and follow across all social media platforms and then also podcast platforms. Make sure you're checking them out there. If you missed the show, you can find it across all podcast platforms. So we're going to come back here. We're going to switch gears. We're going to get into the Brewers. I want to talk some Brewers today because the trade deadline's coming up. I want to talk about Brewers. I want to talk about that MLB salary cap possibly later on in the show here. We'll see what we get. So I'll talk Brewers here on the backside of the ad break here. We'll be right back here on Wisconsin Sports on the Go Trade. Back into Wisconsin Sports on the Go Trade. I'm your host, Trade, coming back on this Wednesday. I hope you guys are enjoying your Wednesday night. Make sure if you have a chance, give us a follow across social media, Wisconsin Sports on the Go Trade, across all social media platforms there. Check us out. Give us a follow, like, subscribe wherever you can. That'd be awesome. We'd be much appreciated. And if you have any comments or anything tonight here on the show, questions, anything like that, text it in. 715-990-4914. That is 715-990-4914. I'd love to hear what you guys think about the show tonight and everything else. But this next segment, I want to talk some Brewers here. And this next segment here is brought to you by Marshfield Motor Speedway, the half-mile paved track just 3 miles west of Marshfield on County Road H. Find upcoming events and races at marshfieldspeedway.com. That is marshfieldspeedway.com there. And also our nonprofit donation group, Warm Kids Wisconsin. They help kids get into snow pants and boots, warm snow pants and boots, not just any kind of snow pants. Good quality snow pants. They make sure of it. They check the brands. They get the good stuff out there. They just need your help. They need you to check them out across social media, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, wherever you could find them. Warm Kids Wisconsin. Find the link tree. Donate if you can. Go to Amazon. Like, subscribe. Share them out. They like to help school districts, everything like that. Their goal is to get from Minnesota to Green Bay. They want to be across the state and then some. They want to get into Minnesota. They want to get into Michigan, the UP, everything like that. They want to help every kid that they can get into warm clothes. And that is a mission that we should all be about because we know how cold it can get. We know it's been hot, but we know how cold it can get in the winter. So make sure you check it out. Warm Kids Wisconsin there. So this next segment, we're going to talk Brewers here a little bit. And I just wanted to mention, watching the Cubs game the other night, the Cubs and Brewer game the other night there, that ball, I think it was Yelich who hit in the center. And Pete Crow Armstrong, little PCA, the blue-haired kid, right? That's what they call him for a while. He was going back into center field to go catch it, and he, turned his back to the ball 14 times. I don't remember, back when in my heyday, back in the day, when I was, learning about baseball and everything like that, but they say never to turn your head to the ball, turn your back and turn your head to the ball because you lose it. Watching him out there, I just don't feel like when I watch Blake Perkins, because everybody keeps telling me how PCA is the best outfielder in baseball and he's the best defender in baseball and blah, 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 whatever, shut up. Anyways, when I watch Blake Perkins or especially Sal play the outfield, I don't think PCA is in the same grouping as them, to be honest with you. I'm going to be blatantly honest. I'm just me. He doesn't look fluid. Perkins looks like he makes playing the outfield easy. Just watching him. And I'd argue that with anybody. Watching him play center field, even last year, because he's been out for a lot of this year and it sucks. But even last year, watching him play the outfield, he was so fluid and so confident, and he flowed to the baseball. And even the home runs that he robbed, he'd flow back there and nonchalantly jump up, grab it, bring it back, jog back in, like nothing happened. He's so, watching him, he's so fluid. We're watching Sal, he's so fluid, and he gets good jumps in the baseball and everything like that. I'm not saying that, Pete Crow Armstrong is not a good outfielder. I'm not saying he's not good. I'm not saying he's not good. But I think this whole hype of, he's the best outfielder in baseball, that needs to stop right where it started. It needs to stop. He's not. I don't think he is. I know Blake Perkins has been out for a while, but he's not. When Blake Perkins is playing, he is, for me, if he's not the best center fielder in baseball, I'm not talking hitting. Don't get my words twisted. I'm not talking hitting center fielders. I'm talking defensively. When he's playing it defensively, Blake Perkins is, if not the best, second best. And I don't know who you would put as the best. I'd have to look through center fielders in baseball right now to even tell you. I think the Brewers have two of the best outfielders in baseball in center and right field when you have Blake Perkins, and in right field you have Sal. Isaac Collins is slowly coming along. Isaac Collins, Jackson Chourio, they're good outfielders. They're fine. Jackson Chourio comes up with a big throw every once in a while. Isaac Collins comes up with a big play. Those two just make me, knock on wood, I trust Blake Perkins and Sal 100% of the time. And those two, it's like, they make me nervous sometimes. They make me nervous. They're good outfielders. I just don't think they're great. I think Sal and Perkins are great outfielders. So I don't think PCA is a bad outfielder. I'm just saying I don't think he is chalked up to what they try to make him out to be, which is the best. I don't think he's the best. I don't. I think he's good. He's not great. He's not the best center fielder in baseball, as they like to put him, best outfielder in baseball, as they like to say. So, yeah, that's where I'm at on that. I just wanted to mention that kind of off the top there, because I've seen a lot of people talking about it, and I just wanted to mention there what I was thinking. So, the Brewers heading into the trade deadline. Freddie Peralta, we know, is off the books. He's off. He's not. They aren't moving Freddie. Right? They aren't moving on from Freddie. When I look at what the Brewers should do, I think Ryan O'Hearn. I think I would definitely look at the Ryan O'Hearn deal. I am all in on that one. Ryan O'Hearn he's been talked about in trade rumors. With a couple different teams now. He's been talked to. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he was in trade rumors last year too. If I'm not mistaken, they were talking about him. The Orioles were more in contention, so I don't know if it was going to be the absolute move that they were going to make, but I thought it was in the talks. The last 7 games, he's been, 368. He's been hitting 267 over the last 15 and 233 over the last 30, but he's been solid on the season so far. I believe he's batting 283 on the season, so he's been solid this year in total. He's got 12 home runs. He hasn't been he hasn't been going off by any means, but he's a solid platoon guy. And everybody's like, well, how can you have a platoon guy? You just want to get this one solid bat that you're going to consistently leave in there. I love that idea. I do. I absolutely love that idea. Do you remember the last time the Brewers had a first baseman where they didn't really platoon him? You could probably maybe say Jesus Aguilar, but was that really? I don't know. Jesus Aguilar, that 2018 season, Eric Thames was still in the room, wasn't he? So they still technically had him in a platoon. I wouldn't say he was completely platooned in that area there, but he was still in a platoon role, I believe. I swear I thought they had Eric Thames was still in there. I do. I swear I thought he was still in there. Maybe not. I mean, maybe they platooned him with somebody else, but they haven't really not had a platoon since Prince Fielder was there. So everybody's so worried about, what are we going to do with two first basemen? It's how they've operated for a while now. They haven't had a consistent force at first base in a hot minute. So am I opposed to a Ryan O'Hearn just because of that? No, I want that. I want to have the ability where right now we want to give Andrew Vaughn a day off, or we want to move him into the DH role. Let's put O'Hearn into a move him over. He can be the first baseman for that day. And then all of a sudden, now we're like, we want to start Andrew Vaughn. Maybe we want to put O'Hearn. He's going to be the DH for that. It's flip-flop those two around. There's a solid bat coming off the bench, too. A pretty darn good bat coming off the bench, too, if you ask me. So I don't hate that move. I saw Stephen Kwan. I don't understand the Stephen Kwan move. I don't. I would not understand it if it happened. Because Kwan, you're just adding another. Okay, would I hate Stephen Kwan coming to the Brewers? No. Who would hate that? If you went, what would that entail? I'd love to see that. What would that entail? Bringing in a guy like Stephen Kwan. Would I hate that move? No. But you're looking at. My guess is a team like the Mets would be in there. Blue Jays, Dodgers. You're going to have a lot of teams in the Stephen Kwan sweepstakes because of how well. He's a pretty darn good hitter. 286 on the year so far. He's a pretty darn good hitter. So you're going to have a lot of teams in that sweepstakes. I think you're going to have a lot of teams in the Ryan O'Hearn sweepstakes there. There's a lot of teams in the Suarez sweepstakes. So there's a lot of teams in there. It's just a matter of how much you're willing to give up. And when you have it's an outfield guy in Stephen Kwan. You have a guy who, in Isaac Collins, you see some people talking about, he could be in that Rookie of the Year conversation. He definitely could be in that Rookie of the Year conversation. And then you have Jackson Chourio. Hopefully he's all good there, injury-wise. But you have Jackson Chourio, and then you have Mike Perkins back. You have Sal. You have Yelich technically in the fold there. So you have outfielders to talk about. So as Stephen Kwan, is that a move you really want to make? Or do you put your effort somewhere else? Because for me, I'd be looking more into we need a relief pitcher. I think the Brewers need to look in that not long relief, because I think Ashby and DL Hall have been solid where they want to put them. And you got a lot of, starting pitchers down in the minors right now that you can put into a long relief role if you really wanted to. They just don't want to. But I think you're looking more at a high leverage guy. Now, I don't think Emmanuel Clase is going to be very good for that at this point here because, he's got his own problems going on where they, suspect him for gambling. I believe that was Emmanuel Clase there that I saw. I don't know what's going on with all these pitchers right now. They're all getting I don't know if it's just a Guardians thing or what, but yeah, it was Emmanuel Clase. And that was also in there. And I believe wasn't it Luis Ortiz was also one of the guys who had was in this gambling problem, and I believe he's also out from the So it's Clase and Luis Ortiz are both guys from the Guardians there. So the Guardians having their own stinking issues right now. I don't think Clase is really, if he was on the trade block, which I think he might have been. It's hard to even think about a trade for him now. There's moves to be made. The question is, where do the Brewers make them? I'm high leverage, right? I'm thinking, me, personally, I'm looking high leverage guy. I don't know. I don't hate Jared Canning. I know a lot of people are like, Jared Canning's been stinking. I don't hate Jared Canning. I think Jared Canning's a fine reliever. Would I be opposed to adding another guy to go in there before Uribe and Trevor McGill? No. I'm all in for that. I think every deadline, if you're in contention, whether you think you have enough bats or not, I think one thing that you don't have enough of is relief pitching because it could go south on you. So I'm all in with the Brewers adding another reliever. I don't know. Do you go out and you add another flamethrower, or do you add a guy to switch speeds up on them? Because you're going to have – you got guys like Brandon Woodruff, Mizorowski, and Freddie who are all up in the mid-90s, and Mizorowski's up at 102. And then you have relievers with Trevor McGill. Jared Canning can whip it. And then you got guys in there like Aaron Ashby who throw some nasty junk. DL Hall can throw hard. And then you got Uribe in there. So you got guys who can throw hard in that bullpen. Do you try to find a guy who throws a little bit of junk in there? I don't know. It's that kind of question. I'm definitely looking at relief help. So I'm looking at reliever, high leverage reliever. That's where I'm kind of leaning. And then I don't know if you find a shortstop, but I think you can find a third baseman or a guy who could maybe play second. You have your option, and this is where your option is. Do you feel like you can move Terang over? If you can move Terang over, then you can, it's like take Joey Ortiz out, move Terang over, keep Durbin in there, but where do you put him? Is it second or third? And that depends on what move do you make. So that's right. I think you need a corner infielder. I'm okay with adding depth. I like the Danny Jansen move for depth. I like the depth. Do I think it's a move the needle move? No, I don't think it's a move the needle. You can almost say it's a lateral move, to be honest with you. I just think they like what they see in Danny Jansen more than they liked what they saw in Eric Haas, especially if push comes to shove and they have to have a catcher for the long run. I don't know if they trusted Eric Haas to be the full-time catcher if William Contreras got banged up and injured. More than what he is, right? If he got an IL stint. So I think you're looking corner infield, relief pitcher. That's where I'm at. If they make those moves, I'm happy. End of the day, I'm happy there. Now, like I said, I mean, you're missing guys. Josh Naylor was taken off the board. Ryan McMahon was also moved. So you have guys who are already on the move. We've seen relief pitchers on the move. The thing that the Brewers have, and what a lot of people are going to have to be okay with getting rid of, is depth. Starting pitching depth. Now, here's the thing. I'm not getting rid of Logan Henderson. I'm not. Because I think he's a future, like, number 1, number 2 in the rotation. I love what I see out of him when he comes up. I love what I've seen out of him when he comes up, and I love what I see out of him when I watch the highlights from down there in AAA. Tobias Myers, I think, could be good. I'm not saying he can't be. If they call about Tobias, if they call about Nestor Cortez, I got to be honest with you, right now, this is where I'm at. If they call about Jose Quintana, I'm considering it. I really am. I love Jose Quintana. I'm only trading him if he goes to the AL because I don't want to face him because the Brewers have problems when they face him. But right now, if you look down the line of who would you possibly replace in your starting rotation with maybe a guy like Logan Henderson or whoever to bring him back in, who would you replace? It would be Jose Quintana. Because right now, statistically and looking at it, who is your worst starter? It's Quintana. Now, do you move him out to the bullpen? Maybe if you don't get rid of him, maybe go bullpen with him. I don't know. But Freddie, Mizorowski, Woodruff, Priester, those 4 guys, solid. Darn good. Quintana would technically be your worst. And it's not bad to have Quintana as your worst. But what I'm saying is if a team calls about him, I don't know if I just hang up the phone right away. I listen to what they're saying. And I mean, there's a lot of guys out there who you can move on from Quintana for, and I think would help. Maybe you package up 2 starting pitchers, a young guy and one of the older guys. Ship him out the door. There's a lot of teams right now that need starting pitching help. And the Brewers have a lot of starting pitching. The Diamondbacks are a team who needs starting pitching. Call them, see what they want, right? That's all you can do if you're the Brewers. So I'm interested to see what the Brewers are going to do. What do you guys think? 715-990-4914. That's 715-990-4914. I'd love to hear what you guys got to say. What do you think the Brewers still need to do? Like I said, I'm pre-recorded, so I don't know what's happened so far today here, Wednesday, as we get closer to the trade deadline. Let me know if the Brewers have made a move, what you thought about that move, because I can talk about it next week on the show. And if not, if they have made that move, tell me what you think the Brewers should do in this, as we get closer here to the trade deadline tomorrow here. So, like I said, text in 715-990-4914. I'd love to hear what you guys got to think about trade deadline, everything in between there. So we're going to come back here. We're going to talk a little bit more Brewers. We're going to kind of skip around here, and then we're going to get to the end of the show here for the day. So we're right back here on Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. Welcome back again to Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage, as we come back here on this Wednesday, getting close to the end of the show here. In this next segment here, we're going to talk a little bit more Brewers. We're going to bounce around a little bit here. This next segment here is brought to you by Sport and Spine Clinic of Greenwood, Wisconsin. Their expert traditional physical therapy and structural integration programming. Call for flexible scheduling and evaluation. Just call Chad down there at Sport and Spine Clinic of Greenwood, 715-267-4583. That is 715-267-4583. So last segment, and if you missed it, make sure you're listening back on the podcast on Wisconsin Sports and the Go Trades next day. But if you missed that, we were talking about the trade deadline, what I thought the Brewers should do coming up here at the trade deadline. Just my thoughts. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on the trade deadline here for the Brewers, whether they've made moves that you liked or not, whatever it is. 715-990-4914. That is 715-990-4914. So I got a question at the break here. Got that same question about Steven Kwan. Do we really need him? If the Brewers went and made this move, do we really need a Steven Kwan? Is it a crazy move? I think so. I don't understand why the Brewers are always in weird talks, right? And they do things that we don't understand. Danny Jansen. We didn't understand that move. We didn't understand the move for Quinn Priester when they did it. But it seems like with the Brewers, there's always a method behind the madness, as they would say. And 9 times out of 10, or around 7 times out of 10, I'll give him because Oliver Dunn was kind of a crack, and so was Vinny Capra. But 7 times out of 10, the Brewers' method for the madness, it works. They find a way. So do I hate the idea? I don't hate the idea of Steven Kwan because, of course, would I want to add Steven Kwan on this team? Yes. I think Isaac Collins can actually play third base. Do I want him to? Probably not. Could Steven Kwan probably play second base? Sure, he probably could play second base. I have no idea. But do I want those guys to switch those positions right now? Not really. Not really. Would I take Steven Kwan's bat? Yes, 100%. Do I think the Brewers need him? No. I think they have bigger needs than Steven Kwan. Is he a good bat to add, though? Yeah. You wouldn't hate a move like that, but what do you have to give up for him? And then would you have anything left to give up for anybody else without blowing up the farm, right? Because people hate when the Brewers blow up the farm. They hate when they trade away prospects. The thing with it is, and the thing with, fans sometimes, is they see the number that's associated with that prospect. Like I was talking about earlier on here in the show. They see that number that's associated with the prospect, and they immediately say, well, you can't get rid of him. How come you got rid of the number 24 prospect for a major league catcher? It's like, because you have to. 1 for 1, you have to. I understand people's, Danny Jansen isn't that darn good. He hasn't been playing that well. I get that. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend like he's not a major league catcher and hasn't been for a bit now. And that Yadier Armino's path to the big leagues is not really that big. Now, could you have realistically packaged up Yadier Armino with somebody else, like a Nestor Cortez or something else, to go to a team for a bigger name? Yeah, you probably could have. That's ain't good enough. But you went and got a major league catcher, a reliable, solid backstop, for essentially... You didn't even have to touch top 20 for that guy. 1 for 1. For a high A player whose path is definitely blocked by a lot of talent above him. And I don't know when you would see Yadier Armino. I mean, you have Terang. You have Durbin now. You have Jesus May. You have Luis Pena. You have Cooper Pratt. You have Bianito. You have Brock Wilkin. You have Bovee. You have all these guys who are above him. Luke Adams. You have all these guys who are above him, not just in prospect rankings, but I believe in talent-wise and everything that are going to be up at the bigs before he is. Where was his path? I don't think he had a clear path. And then we saw, I believe it was Kurt Hogue was talking about it there, and he has his own problems. I mean, he had a swing. I believe it was a chase problem, and the Brewers kind of tried to work on it with him, but it didn't seem to click or anything like that, and he's still having that same problem. So, I mean, you have that same problem, and the Brewers, I think they just kind of cut ties. They're like, this guy's not getting it, so we're just going to cut ties with him. We don't have a path for him. Let's go get a reliable backstop. I immediately, when they made the move for Danny Jansen, I was confused. I was like, why did you make this move? It didn't make sense. Now, it still doesn't completely ring it, but I mean, am I going to live with it? Yeah, because I was, questioning the Quinn Priester move, the Andrew Vaughn move. I've questioned all of them, and yet they still end up working out. So I'm not going to question this one. I'm just going to let it go. Maybe me not questioning it's going to be the problem. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see kind of what happens there. But I want to talk about this Brewers team. I want to talk about the good that's happened as of late with the current roster, and that is the Brewers won the series with the Cubs. I don't know. Like I've told you guys 1,000,001 times now, I know I'm pre-recorded. So I'm talking to you on Tuesday. I know the Brewers won games 1 and 2 of the series there against the Cubs. 9-3 or 8-4, and then 9-3. They put up some runs on the Cubs. Matthew Boyd, I was just reading the stat before. They put Matthew Boyd kind of in his place. A guy who hasn't really struggled in 20 starts coming into the game against the Brewers on Monday. He'd given up 4 earned runs in only 1 start out of 20. 1 start. The Brewers scored 4 runs on him in 1 inning. 1 inning. Think about that. What the Brewers, I don't know what it is with the Brewers, but for some reason, it seems like when we face no-name guys or Rich Hill, I always add Rich Hill in that. No-name guys and Rich Hill, we can't hit them. But it seems like when we face an ace of a staff, like an Imanaga or a Yamamoto or somebody, somebody who's supposed to be the ace of staff and stuff like that, we just light them up. I don't know why. And that's what we saw. Matthew Boyd, he's been fantastic for the Cubs this year. And, going into that outing, Brewers, Cubs, Mizorowski, Matthew Boyd. We were like, yeah, we're going to get this. It's going to be a pitching duel. It's going to be awesome. And then it started. And it was like 3-0 with a blink of an eye. And we're like, what am I watching right now? What am I like? This is wild. Mizorowski's clearing first base. There's infield hits. The Cubs aren't really hitting the ball to score. It's just, nothing was going right. And then they flipped it. Brewers flipped the script. And it was awesome. To see him flip the script, but it was not the outing, not the game that I was expecting when you first looked at it on paper. The Brewers, this offense, as we've seen and as we saw in game 2 there, they could pour it on. They could pour it on fast. They find ways to get on. And now Andrew Vaughn, I don't know what flipped the switch in his head. I don't know if it's just the Brewers, but guys who want to resurrect careers and stuff like that, they should definitely come into and play for the Brewers. Because watching Andrew Vaughn right now, all I see across, social media and everything is you got fans and analysts and everything saying, well, he's going to come back down to earth at some point, right? He's going to come back down to earth at some point. This guy isn't that good. Get ready for the real Andrew Vaughn to come out eventually here, right? And it's like, this guy's darn good. Like, watching him, and then, you see, I didn't know if this guy could actually smile at first, but then, he gets that Gatorade bath there from Monasterio and kind of like chases him away and stuff like that. Like, he's having fun, and I think that was the big thing for him. Getting away from the stinky, just terrible White Sox, coming to Milwaukee, being a part of a winning team, a winning organization, and just, being a part of winning again. I think that's huge. Feeling like you got a shot. Not a drag, because playing for the White Sox just sounds like a drag. So what Andrew Vaughn's been able to do and what this Brewers team has been able to do, nothing short of impressive. We talked about it last hour, our last segment there. The Brewers, I think, definitely need to add. But what we've seen as of late here, especially at the start of this Cubs series, loved it. Loved every second of it. Like I said, I don't know what happened in Game 3 there, but hopefully a sweep of the Cubs, because that'd be awesome. And then you got the Nationals coming up. And then you got Atlanta coming up the following week there. You're on that East Coast road trip, but you got some winnable series there. That's where you kind of, right now it's where you have your chance to put the head-to-head wins, right? Knock the Cubs straight down. But then you have the chance to kind of bolster that, get ahead. I don't know. I was just going to check on who the Cubs had coming up here after the Brewers. Hopefully they find a little tougher stretch of games. The Angels. Yeah, that's a real tough stretch of games there. They got, or not the Angels there. Who the heck do they play next? Oh, Baltimore. They got the Orioles next. Sorry, I looked way ahead. They got they play 5 games against the Brewers there in August because of the rain delay one in Wrigley, that craptastic toilet bowl that is Wrigley Field. But the Orioles coming up next, so hopefully the Orioles can help out the Brewers there a little bit. Cincinnati, St. Louis, Blue Jays, Pittsburgh. So there's some series there where the Cubbies could get knocked around. Toronto's the top team there. St. Louis is still, still alive. They're not buried. And then, you have a team like the Reds who's still in it. Orioles are kind of out, but maybe a team like the Orioles could pick up some wins there. They still have a decent lineup. It's just they can't put it together this year. They're just kind of stinking. So hopefully you see some of these other teams help out the Brewers and get this thing moving here. So we're going to come back. We're going to wrap up the show for the day here on the backside of the ad break here. We're going to come back. We're going to talk. Yeah, we'll see where we get to here as we wrap it up here on this Wednesday. So we're right back here after this quick commercial break. Wisconsin Sports on the Go Trade. We'll be right back. Into Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage, as we come back on this Wednesday. I hope you guys are enjoying your Wednesday night here. And I hope you guys like, subscribe, follow. Make sure you guys are checking us out across social media. Facebook, Instagram, wherever you got it. Make sure you're checking us out. Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. Like, follow, subscribe. Check us out on the podcast platform. If you missed any of the show tonight, make sure you're checking us out there. Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. The podcast will be up either later tonight here or tomorrow as you guys listen to this. So make sure you guys are checking it out there and like, subscribe, follow, share the show out as much as you can. That'd be awesome if you could there. So no Kyle tonight, no Ummer tonight. Christian came on earlier. I should have had him be a part of the Mellow Yellow Minute. Son of a gun. See, this is my brain just goes all over the place. He wasn't on it. Kyle usually is a part of it. He wasn't on tonight, so we weren't able to do it. But we will not go without even doing something with it. So for tonight's Mellow Yellow Minutes, I'm going to leave it as a contest. Okay, I'm going to leave it as a contest. The winner of the contest will receive a prize. A prize. I can't just throw what the prize is out there. You guys would be like, it ain't enough or it's too much. Whatever. You get a prize, okay? All you got to do is answer the question. You got to guess. And if you guess correctly, you're the winner of the prize. There you go. 715-990-4914. That is 715-990-4914. Text in your answer to this question. What is Trage's, my favorite brewer of all time? Shoot it in. Let me know. Who do you think is my favorite brewer of all time? 715-990-4914. I will give you a hint. 2000 and earlier, right? I'm not going to go way back in the day. 2000 and earlier, Trage's favorite brewer of all time. Text it in, 715-990-4914. I will announce the winner and the answer to that question next week here on the show. So make sure you are listening back next week. Make sure you're listening back to the podcast. And if you're listening on the podcast, you can definitely be a part of it too there, and you will win a prize. That's all you need to know. There you go. There's your Mellow Yellow Minute of the week there. So we got into a lot tonight here on the show. We jumped all over the place. We were talking Badgers earlier on in the show with Christian. That was a great segment there. We were talking Packers there a little bit later. Second hour of the show, we started talking Packers there. There's some good stuff there coming out of training camp as we get the exciting portion, right? Pads are on now. You can't really see much when there's no pads because you just have guys kind of running around. You got 11 on 11, but not really anything's happening. You can just see speed versus speed. When you get the pads on, that's when you can see the guys in the trenches. You can start seeing guys get hit. You can start seeing guys kind of move around, what they look like. Can they move bodies? Whatever you're looking at, can they get around guys? Pads are a whole new ballgame, and that's kind of what you wait for. You want to wait for when they have pads on to really dissect, get into it. So pads are just getting on. It's exciting. Ummer's going to be back next week. We're going to talk a boatload of Packers next week here on the show, so I can't wait for that. Christian will definitely be back next week here. We got some more Badgers we want to dive into there, so make sure you're checking that out. And then make sure you're checking him out, Badger Backer. I love his stuff there. Make sure you're checking him out, the Badger Backer. It's free to subscribe to his stuff there. Make sure you're subscribing to him. Make sure you're subscribing to the show here, everything in between. And then Kyle, he'll be back next week there to talk. Who even knows? They'll probably get into the trade deadline. We can't wait. Trade deadline's coming up tomorrow. I'm excited. The Brewers, I really feel Mark Ananasio said all the chips are on the table. They can, the office has my support. They could do whatever they want. I don't know. I'm trying to remember back, and I was trying to do research to see if he's ever really kind of like mentioned that before. I haven't seen him really mention that before. So that's got me excited. Will the Brewers make a move? I can't wait to see it. If they do, if they don't, what do you guys think? Do the Brewers make a big-time move? 715-990-4914. Then 715-990-4914. Make sure you guys text, comment, whatever. Get across social media. Find us out there. Like, subscribe, follow. I'd love to see you guys across all the social media platforms to interact with you guys so that way I can get, more talking points, everything for the show. That's always awesome there. But make sure you're getting your answer into the question, too. What is Trage's favorite brewer of all time, 2000 to now? Who is my favorite Brewer of all time? You answer that question right, you are in line to win a prize. 715-990-4914. Let me know what you think. I'll announce that winner and the answer to that question next week here on the show. So with that, this has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed the rest of your Wednesday. I hope you guys enjoyed the rest of your week. Until we talk to you guys again next Wednesday, see ya.